everyone. It's Shane Conto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to the Streaming Wasteland here on the SPM Crew Podcasting Network. And each week on Friday, I release a new podcast where I pick three streaming services, pick one previously released film off of each of them, and hopefully by the end of this episode, you'll have some movies to check out for your weekend. And I'm going to be highlighting AMC Plus, Peacock, and Criterion channel here for this week. So let's get things started with AMC Plus, and we have 1993's A Bronx Tale. And this is a crime drama coming of age story, an intense drama about a boy torn between his tough, hardworking father and a violent yet charismatic crime boss. And this film is interestingly directed by Robert De Niro and written by Chaz Palminteri, who this film's based off of a play that he wrote and also a little autobiographical. And we have you having Chaz Palminteri playing Sonny, this mobster, and De Niro playing Lorenzo, this father, for our young protagonist. And this film is a really good coming of age story as we have this young man learning about, the good things, the bad things in life, how you should live your life, being drawn from being drawn into this potential like dangerous life, but it's glamorous, it's flashy, and also having a hardworking blue collar father who is really trying to teach him the right lesson. It's emotional, it's meaningful, it's relatable. We all have these dreams of things and, potentially opportunities for like an easier life, maybe done the wrong way. And this film navigates that, and you have two fantastic performances from De Niro and Palminteri, who just really embody their characters of Lorenzo and Sonny. You even have a really great like cameo from Joe Pesci towards the end of the film as well. Obviously, De Niro bringing in his pal. But you do have this story of this young man, and it tells a good story. And, him falling in love with a young black woman and what that could potentially mean in his own community. This film is very Italian American. And I appreciate that. I think it feels very authentic. It feels very true. It's well shot, it's well put together. This isn't like De Niro is not Scorsese when it comes to filmmaking, not Coppola, but I think he does a really fine job pulling this film together and telling a really good story. And a side note, I got to see the stage musical version of this as well and really enjoyed it. It tells a good story and it does it in a well put together way. It's told in an effective and impactful way with a lot of talented people behind it. It's a good little film and certainly worth a watch. But of course, that's why you're here. Then we're going to head over to Peacock and we're going to turn the clock back a couple of decades to the 1970s. And this one also dealing with crime, but in a much more visceral, aggressive, and impactful action facing kind of way. And that's 1976's Assault on Precinct 13. And if I could just keep recommending John Carpenter films to you, I'm gonna. And that's exactly what I'm doing now. This is written and directed by John Carpenter. This B action thriller is a very visceral, very impactful film that tells the story of a highway patrol officer, two criminals, and a station secretary defend a defunct Los Angeles precinct office against a siege by a bloodthirsty street gang. It's unexpected how this story all plays out. It's a series of unfortunate events culminating, well, really the spark of it comes from the death of a child. And this is a horrifically intense film that does not pull punches. It's not glamorous. It doesn't glamorize the action. This is violent. It is brutal. And this is an all out assault and siege upon Precinct 13, as you can tell from the title. And you have some interesting characters, whether you have the police officers or the criminals that team up together and have to defend this place. And this film is shot in such a way that is brutal, it's impactful. You have some really good character actors who pop up in a lot of Carpenter films, like Charles Cyphers or Nancy Keys. You have the likes of Tony Burton of Rocky film franchise fame, Darwin Jostin, who plays a really interesting, charismatic criminal who, honestly, if this was made a few years later, probably would have been Kurt Russell, to be perfectly honest. But you have this really good, strong cast that pulls this together with Austin Stoker, who kind of leading the way as well. This film really ties things together. It has some things to say about police and criminality, but when it really comes down to it, this is an all out thrill ride from start to finish. It's lean. This is 91 minutes. It gets into the action. It's brutal. It's bloody. Like I said, this does not pull punches. This does not glamorize. This just shows you this is the potential when violence overcomes and causes all out mayhem. And this film really captures that in a raw, intensive way. I've never seen the remake with Lawrence Fishburne and like Ethan Hawke, but maybe someday. But you should definitely check out the original. Now we're heading over the Criterion channel and turning things back a ways as they're celebrating some classic noirs over on the Criterion channel. And we're going to highlight 1941's The Maltese Falcon, starring Humphrey Bogart. And this film, a San Francisco private detective, Sham Spade, takes on a case that involves him with three eccentric criminals, a gorgeous liar, and their quest for a priceless statuette, with the stakes rising after his partner is murdered. And this is from legendary filmmaker John Huston, who has made such films as The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, made films like African Queen. Obviously, he had a really strong relationship with Humphrey Bogart. But Humphrey Bogart, Bogey, he was one of the biggest stars of his era, and he is so fantastic as this hard-boiled private detective, which honestly, most hard-boiled private detectives are probably based off of a Sam Spade. And he plays this game of a film that, to be honest, there's not a lot of action in this film. There's a lot of talking, a lot of tension, and a lot of being in a room, not knowing if you're going to get out of that room alive. And that's what's so compelling and engaging and thrilling about this experience with the Maltese Falcon. It's shot in crisp, beautiful black and white. John Huston, extremely talented filmmaker who maximizes these claustrophobic small spaces. And you just have a whole great cast of character actors and some strong performances from Mary Astor or Gladys George. You have the likes of Peter Lorre, one of the most famous character actors of his generation. You have Sidney Greenstreet as Casper Gutman, who honestly is really you- who the Kingpin and Marvel Comics is really based off of. Sidney Greenstreet, this larger than life human, this more rotund figure, just standing there, and Elijah Cook Jr., who's this very intense and dangerous hired gun. You even have one of my new favorite character actors, Ward Bond, as detective in this film. And it's such a great cast. It has twists and turns. You never know exactly who's playing whom and what's going to happen next. And that's a special kind of film, and we love to see it. You have such an engaging and enthralling lead in Humphrey Bogart, who just really sells this tough guy role and just grabs you, pulls you in, and doesn't let you go. All the way up to some our iconic climax with some iconic dialogue, some of the best lines in film. This is such a classic film. This is a pitch perfect example of what noir can do. Hard boiled investigators and femme fatales and, you know, MacGuffins all around, like this statue. But those are my recommendations for this week on the Streaming Wasteland. Let's recap. So, we're heading over to AMC Plus to 1993 and checking out A Bronx Tale. Then Peacock has 1976's Assault on Precinct 13. And finally, over on the Criterion channel, we have 1941's The Maltese Falcon. But those are my picks. Make sure to like, comment, and share on this episode. What are some of your favorite noirs or gangster films or, all out and out B action movies from the 1970s? A lot of great prompts there. But make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. The SPM Crew Podcasting Network has such a great variety of shows about movies and television and sports, physical media, comics, music, and even, just chatting about life. But make sure to check out our network. A lot of great shows to keep up with. And if you like the logo, make sure to check out High Flyer Creative. They do some fantastic work. But most importantly, thank you as always for tuning in and supporting the Streaming Wasteland here on the SPM Crew Podcasting Network.